Welcome to the John and Heidi Show podcast.
John and Heidi.
Here's John and Heidi.
Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show this weekend. Hey, baby, how you doing?
I'm great. How are you doing?
Super-de-duper. Coming up here later in the program, we've got a guest, David-Bentley-Hart. He wrote a book called The New Testament. Ever heard of it?
I have heard of it.
Well,
I don't believe he wrote it.
Well, he did. What he did is he has a new translation of the New Testament. Did I say the Old Testament?
New Testament.
Okay,
you
all
said
right.
new.
So he's got a new translation of the New Testament, and he went back to the original scripts and then did a new translation of it, like in today's words. Super smart dude. Super excited to chat with him. That's coming up later in the program. Also, you ready for a couple of quotes?
Sure.
All right, we got a couple of different quotes because we've got the Saturday quote for the 31st of March. Our greatest glory is not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall. Confucius. I like that. And then Sunday, April Fool's Day. If you want to lift yourself up, lift up someone else. Booker T. Washington. I love that. That's so true because when you do something good for someone else, it makes you feel good too.
Absolutely, it does.
Love it. Couple of great quotes on this great weekend. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show.
John and Heidi.
There are monthly subscriptions for razors and coffee and many other things, but this is the best monthly subscription ever. Ladies, listen up. Odiva has a monthly subscription for your monthly visitor. You know it's going to happen every month, and how many times have you been caught off guard? Odiva will send you a box discreetly each month with the products you want, with plans starting at less than $4 a month. Get a special offer right now at radiosavings.com, helping women prepare for their monthly visitor for less. Try it now at radiosavings.com.
John and Heidi.
Today is a special day, Heidi. Do you know what today is?
What is today, John?
I thought you'd never ask. Let's do the whole darn weekend. Saturday, March the 31st, is National Bunsen Burner Day. Oh, remember those Bunsen burners?
I do.
I wonder if you think they're named after like some Mr. Bunsen or
No,
Mrs. Bunsen?
Beaker and Bunsen from the Muppets are named after them.
Okay. National Clams on the Half Shell Day. Saturday is also National Crayon Day, National Prom Day, and National Tater Day. April the 1st, happy anniversary to my brother and his wife. 18 years, I think they've been. No, more than that. 20 years this year.
Yeah, it would be more than 18 because we've been married 18.
That's what I was thinking. I knew somebody had been. It is also April Fool's Day. And I remember when they were getting married, everybody thought that it was a joke. Nobody knew they were getting married, and all of a sudden they're like, wait, you guys really just get married? National 1 Cent Day, National Sourdough Bread Day, and Easter as well. All of that on April the 1st this year. And I'm going to tell you where April Fool's Day comes from later in the program because that's my annual tradition. So
yes, it is.
I always have to tell you. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show.
John and Heidi.
Sadly, more than 350 million people suffer from depression. Scientifically, your actual brain chemistry levels are affected. Now a breakthrough, safe and natural, non-prescription coffee product has been shown to help. It elevates levels of dopamine, serotonin, and endorphins in the brain, which makes you happier. Just by drinking this special cup of coffee, many reported elevated mood, feeling more connected, having greater energy, clarity, and focus. Try it for yourself at firstcupisfree.com. Get a free sample at firstcupisfree.com.
John and Heidi.
Coming up, we get your brain on drugs. But first, Tiffany Haddish says a woman who was allegedly high on drugs bit Beyonce's face at a party back in December. That's not good.
No.
What kind of parties are you going to,
Right?
Beyonce?
Exactly.
People bite you in the face? I don't go to those parties. They bite me all over the place, but never in
But
the
you go to
face.
places where there's a lot of people doing drugs and
I
stuff
suppose
is going to happen.
I don't really go to parties where they bite me in other places. I was just being silly, but we just kind of kept talking, so I figured I better point that out. So they don't go, did he just say he goes to... No, I was being a wise guy. Coming up, we've got your brain on drugs, and this time the Easter Bunny's involved.
John and Heidi.
Each day at this time, we talk about people doing dumb things under the influence, but addiction is no laughing matter. If you or someone you know needs help, there's a toll-free number you can call.
1-800-438-0380.
That's the Addiction Hope and Helpline.
1-800-438-0380.
And this is your brain on drugs. 'Tis Easter weekend, Heidi, and we have one with the Easter Bunny involved. 54-year-old LaDonna Hewitt was arrested after she allegedly made lewd comments to an Easter Bunny at a carousel park while intoxicated. She was intoxicated, not the Easter Bunny. Hewitt was seen at a carousel park in Richland, Ohio, and, quote, appeared intoxicated, end quote, according to witnesses who spoke with police. At one point, she had her photo taken with the Easter Bunny. It was then that she allegedly made lewd comments to the bunny before hopping on the carousel. When officers confronted Hewitt, she displayed various signs of intoxication like slurred speech, bloodshot eyes, and general wobbly demeanor. She was arrested for public drunkenness and booked into the county jail.
Wow.
Yeah. I wish that I could say this is the only story like this that we have, but I have so many stories like this stocked up right now. Our Weird News today is also going to be one like this, and our Moment of Duh is also going to be one like this, because I'm serious. I had so many of these stories, I'm like, if I don't start reading these, like I pulled this one out because I was like, there was one in here somewhere for Easter. If I don't do it, it's going to be like old news. So we got a lot of people doing dumb things under the influence, and that's why I'm going to give you the Addiction Hope and Helpline, 1-800-438-0380.
John and Heidi.
Now, big screen, little screen, the reboot of Roseanne's program, Roseanne Barr's program, got mostly positive reviews. So I have not seen it. We didn't watch the show. We're going to probably try to catch it here. Are you with me over there?
Yes, I'm
What are
listening to
doing?
you.
You're like taking a nap or something.
Talking about Roseanne. I'm
Okay.
listening.
So have you
I
heard
heard
good?
that it got very good reviews.
It did, yeah. 3 or 4 stars out of 5. So a scale of 1 to 5. Most reviews were,
Yeah.
better than good. So that's good.
Yeah, that is good.
And I've not had a chance
I haven't
to see
seen it.
But from what I've been told, like I said, I've been told it's good. Meghan Markle made her final appearance on Suits before leaving the show. She's no longer going to play an attorney. Instead, she's going to play a queen or princess. Or what is she going to be? Princess?
It's going to be a princess.
Okay. Prince Harry. Yeah, princess. I think that's kind of cool. Corey Feldman posted on Twitter that he was stabbed 6 times Tuesday night by a wolf pack that was out to get him. What the what? Corey.
Did you know
Seek
that
help, my friend.
if a prince marries a woman, she becomes a princess?
Yeah.
But if a princess marries a man, he does not become a prince.
What does he become?
I don't know.
Just a lucky dude.
Like I don't know if he's called a duke or
maybe
what
that
he
is, the duke.
becomes, but it's not.
I don't know how these rules work.
It's not a prince, which I thought was kind of funny.
That is kind of funny. And that's going to do it for Big Screen, Little Screen, brought to you by ChannelSurferTV.com.
John and Heidi.
You can go to college without student loans. Do you have a kid in 11th or 12th grade or in college? Let me save you time, energy, and most importantly, your hard-earned money. My name is Matthew Einstein, and I earned my undergraduate degree from the University of Texas and my master's from Prescott College with no loans. And I was an all-around average student. Not only am I a living example, but I have 10 years of proven results, not guesswork. Take my first course for free that walks you through my journey by going to learnwithoutloans.com.
Now, your scoop of the day, courtesy of FirstCupIsFree.com. Connecticut police say a group of hawks have been dive bombing people and clawing at their heads. What in the world is going on there? That doesn't seem normal. You might want to fix that. Either that or steer clear of Connecticut. Lulu app is a new mobile app that directs New York City tourists to available restrooms for a small fee. You know what that reminds me of?
No.
There was an episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm where it was supposedly like a reunion for Seinfeld, because the Seinfeld reunion itself will never happen supposedly, but there was a Seinfeld reunion on that show. In that show, George Costanza invented an app like this. It was called the iToilet.
I remember that now, yeah.
So somebody finally actually did what they said he did 5 years ago. Why didn't someone do it sooner? So somebody else is getting the cha-ching now. Sorry, George Costanza, you don't get it. A video has gone viral of a python trying to kill a snake charmer in India.
Oh.
Yeah, so he must not have been much of a snake charmer.
He wasn't charmed.
He's not very charming. He's going to kill you. New report claims Russia could use robots to poison food in untraceable artificial intelligence assassinations as part of a new Cold War.
Oh, great.
Wow. Why are we even saying, hey, you could do this? No, we could. Maybe we should. I mean, the new report is saying that. A Starbucks just recently opened in Yosemite. Now, I believe there is a Starbucks everywhere. So they have one at Yosemite
Is that
now.
really necessary?
Well, apparently they needed some
Hopefully
Starbucks.
up by the gift shops and not like out in the middle of the wilderness.
You're walking along, you're like,
Was that a Starbucks?
what was that? I think it was a Starbucks. Either that or a moose.
On one of the trails.
I'm not sure. Could have been a bear or a Starbucks. I don't know. 18.3 billion, Heidi. 18.3 billion. I'm glad you asked. That's how many dollars were spent in the US of A on Easter-related stuff like candy and flowers and clothing and greeting cards. 18.3 billion. So that's a lot. And this is kind of bizarre. According to Google, the phrase, "do bunnies lay eggs?" and "do rabbits lay eggs?" receive between 1,000 and 10,000 average monthly searches. That is a big number. So I just don't understand how many people would really think bunnies lay eggs.
No, they do not lay eggs.
They don't. So you don't need to Google that. Take my word for it. Those eggs come from chickens. They could come from ducks as well, I suppose, or other waterfowl. But not from rabbits or bunnies, for those of you wondering.
A lot of people who didn't pay very close attention in school.
Apparently not. And here's one that I think is interesting. Back in the day, I used to have an alarm clock that I would wake up to, and I think I used to hit snooze quite a bit when I was younger. I never do now. Like usually I'm up before my alarm even goes off. Mm-hmm. And my alarm is no longer on a clock. It's on my phone, which is kind of crazy. 61% of adults who wake up with alarm clocks said they use the snooze button, though. 39% of people are up and at 'em when the alarm goes off. Roughly 17% snooze. They say they hit the snooze button only once. 15% hit it twice. 14% hit it 3 times. And 1 in 20 hit the snooze button 4 times. 3.8% hit it 5 times.
Jeez.
And about 3% hit the snooze button at least 6 times. So that's a whole lot of hitting the snooze button.
They must have a much looser morning than most people.
Apparently, because, when I
or
get
else
up...
they're always late for where they're supposed to be.
What happened? Hit the snooze button 6 times. Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad you made it by noon. Thanks for coming in. So I just can't even imagine hitting the button that many times. I don't know. And we're going to leave you with this. The CDC is warning that a second strand of the flu virus could be hitting America right now. So be careful. If you see the flu coming, go the other way or something. I don't know what we're supposed to do with that. I guess maybe get a flu shot. I have no clue. This has been your Scoop of the Day. Thanks for listening to The John and Heidi Show.
John and Heidi.
Radio really works. That's a pretty bold statement, but it's true. If you advertise on the radio the right way, you'll see results. I've said for years, advertising costs money, but effective advertising makes money. The only difference between spending money and making money is that one word, effective. Let us help you make your advertising more effective. Learn more at RadioReallyWorks.com. We do radio jingles and creative ads to help you get better results with the money you're already spending. Hear examples at RadioReallyWorks.com. That's RadioReallyWorks.com. Thank you so much for listening to the John and Heidi Show. We have Dr. David Bentley-Hart joining us, and he is the author of a new book called The New Testament. Now, David, I've actually heard of a book very similar name to that. Now, what is the difference between the version of the New Testament that I've read in the past and your version of the New Testament?
Well, for the most part, the difference is simply how brutally literal I'm attempting to be in my translation. I simply wanted to produce a version that was not a sort of catalog of past doctrinal understandings of the text or readings or conventional translations.
So it's done in more of like a story version, is that correct?
Well, I don't know about that. It's more a version that tries to catch the different voices of the different authors without smoothing them over, and without trying to iron out some of the ambiguities in the original Greek. So it reads well where the original Greek was written well, and reads somewhat poorly where the original Greek was poor, and in a few cases where the original Greek was incoherent, the English is not exactly crystal clear.
And there are so many different translations of both the Old Testament and the New Testament, King James Version, New International Version, so many different versions. Is this version, the New Testament, is it designed to replace the other versions, or it's designed to accompany those?
Well, it depends. I'd happily see the New International Version replaced by just about anything, but because it's so incredibly inaccurate. But for the most part, it's meant to accompany. It's not a version you would use, say, for liturgical use. It's not a literary version, and therefore I would hate people to set aside their King James because it has uses that mine never will.
And think about over the years the number of different times that we've gotten, and there's so many versions, and you can get translations for just about any thing you're looking for. But when it's amazing to me that how many people, like I even just heard you were kind of referring to the King James version being maybe a little better version than some of the others that came along. That has stood the test of time for a long time, hasn't it?
Yeah, it was a very beautiful translation and a very earnest, and it was very faithful to the texts in the condition they had. Now, that doesn't mean it's flawless as far as scholarship goes. It's much of what was assumed about the text is rather outdated now. And it is very much, like all translations of the 16th century and after, determined in some degrees not by what the original Greek says so much as what later tradition made of the language of the original Greek. So it doesn't give you as direct a view of the Greek as would be ideal, but it's definitely still better than many modern translations, both for accuracy and certainly for literary felicity. Still, when I undertook my translation, the idea is more or less to give. Well, if you've ever taken a course from a New Testament scholar and he stops or she stops midway through a lesson and says, well, what the Greek actually says here is, that's what my translation is, an attempt to give you.
So, and I've had study Bibles where, you'll have the actual translation on one side of the page, and then over here it kind of breaks down each thing and says, here's what all of this means, and at that time it was this word meant this, and this is what they mean. So yours kind of just cuts right through it and says, let's just say what it means.
Yeah, and many of the Bibles, are you talking about, say, interlinear Bibles or things of this? Yeah, the problem with the interlinear Bible, I actually approve of those because I don't think the faithful who don't have Greek should be cut off from the original text. But the problem is the interlinears that are available quite often simply repeat the later questionable translations in the interlineations available on the page. So they're still not as accurate as would be ideal. I've yet to come across one that I could recommend wholeheartedly.
Again, visiting right now with Dr. David Bentley-Hart, and he's the author of a new translation of the New Testament, is what it's called, the New Testament. And I think it's fascinating that you took on this project. Has to be a huge project. How long did this take?
About 4 years, with an interruption for illness during one of those years, so 5 years on all. Yeah, that would be about right.
And during that time, how far back did you go when you were doing this translation? Was this translation based on an earlier translation, or did you go to the original text? Did you go that far back?
Oh, yeah. No, I went to the original Greek. I'm not interested in later translations because then you just fall into the trap of repeating traditional rather than accurate renderings. And I went back to the Greek, and I reread also the Greek version of the Old Testament, the Septuagint, which was the Bible upon which the authors of the New Testament relied for their usage of certain terms in order to reacquaint myself with it. But the entire purpose of the translation is to go directly from the Greek to a modern rendering with as few interpositions of either dogma or personal inclination as possible.
And I can understand where that would be important, because I've heard of a thing called the telephone game, where you sit in a circle and I whisper something into someone's ear, and then they say it to the next person and they say it to the next person. By the time it gets around, it's nowhere close to what the original thing was. And that's over the course of a couple of minutes. So think about over the course of, dozens of centuries, how something being translated and translated and translated can really turn into some completely different thing. So when you go back to the original text and do this, are there things that we're seeing now that are completely different than the way we've kind of been raised?
Yeah, I think so, yeah, or strikingly different. I don't know if completely different. There are ambiguities in the text, for one thing, that tend to get ironed out in later tradition, and therefore in translations that are based on later tradition. For instance, just the way the word spirit, pneuma, is used in the Greek, and especially in Paul, is much more ambiguous in the Greek than you would imagine from standard translations. It's not at times. The way it's translated, the word is given a capital S, and an article is added, and it's clear as we think that this is a reference to, say, the Holy Spirit. But when Paul uses the word, it's half the time completely unclear whether he means God's Spirit, the human spirit, or something in a strange way that's both at once, a spiritual condition. And you have to teach yourself not to see the later developments of thinking about the text in the text itself, if you want to render the text just as it is on the page. Now, no one can do that perfectly, but that was my intention.
Well, that's fantastic. Dr. David Bentley-Hart is our guest right now. I can tell you, I could probably talk to you for 4 hours, but I know we don't have that much time today. I'm certainly going to be reading it. It sounds fascinating, and thank you for taking on such a gigantic, humongous project. I think it's a really neat thing that you did that, so thanks for doing what you did.
You're welcome.
Well,
but thanks for having me on as well.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being on the program with us. Again, the book is called The New Testament, and I've got a copy here. I'm gonna read on the cover what it says here. It says, Dr. David Bentley-Hart, and then a translation, the New Testament. And so when you're looking for it, because if you just go in and look for the New Testament, you're going to find a lot. I'll make it really easy. I'll put a link to this on our social media to make it super simple. And that is very easy to find at facebook.com/John and Heidi Show.
John and Heidi.
In a world that constantly tells you you're not good enough,
12 easy ways to lose weight now.
It's easy to start believing that. I'm Amanda Johnson. I have a new perspective on the self-help genre. My book, Becoming Enough, A Heroine's Journey to the Already Perfect Self, will guide you to find your own happiness. Learn to block out the distractions of what the world thinks and learn to be happy with who you truly are. Becoming Enough. Available now on Amazon, or learn more at amandajohnson.tv.
Fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
The star Antares. I don't know if I'm saying that right. It is Antares. How would you say that? Antares?
Okay.
Antares?
And that's a star in the sky.
It's a star in the sky.
Okay.
60,000 times larger than our sun.
Whoa.
If our sun were the size of a softball, that star would be as big as a house.
Whoa.
60,000 times bigger. It's a big old star. So there you go. Fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
In Calama, a town in the Atacama Desert of Chile, it has never rained.
Really?
Yeah.
Ever?
And
not once?
Never once in this town, Calama, Calama, a town in the Atacama Desert. A desert in Chile. It has never rained. I'm going to move on. This has been your Fun Facts. We learned something today. We learned that I should have just skipped that second thing. Couple of fun facts, courtesy of LearnWithoutLoans.com.
John and Heidi.
Sadly, more than 350 million people suffer from depression. Scientifically, your actual brain chemistry levels are affected. Now a breakthrough, safe and natural, non-prescription coffee product has been shown to help. It elevates levels of dopamine, serotonin, and endorphins in the brain, which makes you happier. Just by drinking this special cup of coffee, many reported elevated mood, feeling more connected, having greater energy, clarity, and focus. Try it for yourself at firstcupisfree.com. Get a free sample at firstcupisfree.com.
John and Heidi.
Time now for the grandiloquent word of the day, and it kind of looks like the grandiloquent word might be sticking around, Heidi.
Really?
Yeah, we got tons of people.
All 7 people that voted?
There weren't many people that voted. I don't know how many people voted. There were not a lot of people that voted, but there were more people who liked it than didn't like it. So I guess it's still up there to vote for. So if you really, really hate this segment and you're like, man, I've been just waiting for this thing to go, you can comment on there too. But you can certainly just, leave your comment. Facebook.com/John and Heidi Show. If you vote there, then we'll get your vote. Our grandiloquent word today is ambusque. Ambusque. EMBUSQUE. Ambusque. What do you think that means?
I honestly don't know.
You don't even want to guess?
No.
It's a noun. Someone who avoids military service by obtaining a government job. Ambusque.
Oh.
So there you go. That's a way to. I guess that's one way to work the system or whatever.
There you go.
To be very embusque about it. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show. This is your grandiloquent word of the day.
John and Heidi.
You can go to college without student loans. Do you have a kid in 11th or 12th grade or in college? Let me save you time, energy, and most importantly, your hard-earned money. My name is Matthew Einstone, and I earned my undergraduate degree from the University of Texas and my master's from Prescott College with no loans. And I was an all-around average student. Not only am I a living example, but I have 10 years of proven results, not guesswork. Take my first course for free that walks you through my journey by going to learnwithoutloans.com.
Now some weird news for you, courtesy of firstcupisfree.com. And like I said earlier in the program, this is really kind of a brain on drugs story. 21-year-old Dylan Bradley Madden broke into a Mankato, Minnesota home. This is a couple weeks ago, I believe it was. This is on Saturday morning, but I think it's from a few weeks ago. I had so many of these stacking up, I finally said, I got to move them around and read them in other places.
Okay.
He cooked himself some children's chicken nuggets before police arrived and took him into custody. He entered the home at about 2 a.m. through a garage door. The residency was occupied at the time by a woman and her kids. He broke in, cooked himself some chicken nuggets, and got himself a drink. The homeowner confronted him in the residence, told police the intruder appeared to be drunk. A breath test recorder says that he was at .10, which is above the .08 limit.
Yeah.
He was arrested on felony burglary charge in connection with his quest for a post-midnight snack. And he got his nuggets, and he got arrested, too. And this is
you got to wonder if that was a case of, like,
went in the wrong house?
Right. He thought he was at a different house.
Who knows? All I know is if you have those kind of issues, you might need some help. And I'm going to give you that Addiction Hope and Helpline. That number is 1-800-438-0380. Now your moment of duh, courtesy of learnwithoutloans.com. And guess what, Heidi? It's another one with person who was under the influence.
Really? Shocker.
41-year-old Christy Roots of Pinellas County, Florida, lieutenant there, is out of a job after she was seen, keep in mind, she was a lieutenant police officer. She was seen driving backwards and honking her horn while intoxicated.
Oh.
A neighbor in the area.
In a squad car?
Well, let's just read the rest of the story. I don't remember. A neighbor called authorities about a vehicle sounding its horn at about 2 a.m. Sunday, the 18th of March. Deputies responded and saw Christy, age 41, driving backwards and honking the car's horn.
Oh, my gosh.
She was noted to have bloodshot, glassy, watery eyes with a smell of alcohol on her breath. They agreed to a field sobriety test and performed poorly. The news release states that she refused to submit to a breath sample. However, because of her employment with the sheriff's office, she was obligated to submit. The blood alcohol content result was 0.14%.
Whoa.
She was arrested and charged with driving under the influence. She was immediately fired, by the way, from her job, which is bad. I hate to hear it when people lose their job, but she's got an issue that she needs help with.
She needs help.
And again, that's why I'm going to give you the number again. We have so many people in the news that
it's
seriously,
really sad.
I had 14 stories stacked up. And some of this stuff, I was like, I got to read it. Otherwise, it's going to be June and we're talking about the Easter Bunny. So I was like, no, we got to. So again, I even though this was our moment of duh, it was really more of a brain on drugs. And the Addiction Hope and Helpline number again, if you have issues like this and you need help, 800-438-0380.
In a world that constantly tells you you're not good enough,
12 easy ways to lose weight now.
it's easy to start believing that. I'm Amanda Johnson. I have a new perspective on the self-help genre. My book, Becoming Enough, A Heroine's Journey to the Already Perfect Self, will guide you to find your own happiness. Learn to block out the distractions of what the world thinks and learn to be happy with who you truly are. Becoming Enough. Available now on Amazon or learn more at amandajohnson.tv.
More weird news, Heidi. Guess what? This one does not involve anybody drunk.
Oh, my gosh.
Because he's already in prison, so I don't think he could get drunk. But our weird news brought to you by firstcupisfree.com. A notorious prisoner in the UK recently started a rumble with prison guards because he was angry that he was not allowed a visit from his new wife. So, to prepare for this pummeling, the prisoner, who's going to take on all of the guards themselves, decided to smother himself in butter right before the fight.
Oh, yeah,
To
that's
make it-
smart. Make it harder to
To
catch
make
him.
it harder for them to hold on to him. So he's
It's a great idea.
getting ready for a rumble, and he's smothering himself in butter. I don't know. That doesn't make a ton of sense. Coming up, we've got your good news, and your good news today could change your life. It's on the way. Thanks for listening to The John and Heidi Show.
John and Heidi.
This portion of the John and Heidi Show is brought to you by the John and Heidi Show. That sounds kind of funny, but it's true. Go to your local radio station and ask them to start carrying the John and Heidi Show. Here's the best part. They can carry the show for free. They play a couple commercials, but it doesn't cost them anything every month. So if you know a radio station that could use a little bit of help, send them our way. Send them to johnandheidishow.com. Again, johnandheidishow.com. We would love to do a radio program in your community. Then you could listen to the podcast and listen to us on the radio.
John and Heidi.
Now some good news courtesy of Odiva, the monthly subscription for Ladies Monthly Visitor. You can learn more at radiosavings.com. And your good news today is me telling you where this whole April Fool's thing comes from. Because
This is the good news.
This is the good news.
The good news is the April Fool's Day
Well,
story.
I forgot to do it anywhere else. So, and I realized if I don't do it now, we're done. But it is good news because we're also
I
letting
would
people
just like
know.
to say before you start this nonsense
Yeah.
that you look absolutely stunning
Fetching.
in that jacket.
You got this for me for Christmas.
I know it looks really good on
I
you.
hardly ever wear it.
You look incredibly
Do I?
handsome. I'm just saying it
So
looks very
you're
good.
saying after the show you're going to give me a smooch?
Maybe.
All right.
Maybe.
I'm going to read really fast. April Fool's Day, for those of you who maybe like to prank people for that day, if that's like a big deal. Most people don't know why we do that, but I was fascinated when I read this story, and there's a book called Extraordinary Origins of Ordinary Things, I think is what it was called. I've got the book somewhere, but I don't know where it is. But in there, it talks about how this weekend used to be New Year's weekend. March 31st was New Year's Eve. April 1st was New Year's Day.
Right.
And then they changed the calendar around, and they moved it to December 31st, New Year's Eve, January 1st, New Year's Day. So when they made that change, there were some people that said, no, I'm not going to celebrate that. I'm celebrating when I always did. So they continued to make this weekend their New Year's weekend. And by doing so, they would have too much to drink on the 31st of March, and they would wake up on April 1st, drunk as a skunk, and would get pranked. You know, people would pull pranks on them because they called them the April Fools. They were the April Fools.
There you go.
So Heidi has heard this story
I
9
have
years.
so many times.
9 years in a row, maybe even 18. We've been married 18 years. Been doing a radio show together for 9. So isn't that weird? Half of our marriage, we've been doing a radio show.
It's crazy.
But she's pretty sick of doing it. So she's doing her taxes over there right now as I'm telling the story. But I thought it was fascinating. I've got a link to the story online if you'd like to read it. And again, not trying to spoil the fun for all you April Fool's pranksters out there, but I've been pranked enough times. I'm trying to spoil the fun. Time to say goodbye, Heidi.
Goodbye, Heidi.
Goodbye, everybody. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show. Have a wonderful weekend, and we appreciate you joining us.